As we've sometimes seen here on The Dish, some people just seem like they were born to cook. Hans Rockenwagner is one of them. Born and raised in Germany, he spent much of his childhood playing in the kitchen of his family-owned restaurant. After training in restaurants in the Black Forest and gaining experience elsewhere in Germany, he moved on to Switzerland and France before making his way to the United States, where he ended up in Los Angeles.
There, he quickly established himself with an inventive take on California cuisine. His first restaurant, Rockenwagner, made him a star. Today, as head of the LA-based Rockenwagner Bakery Group, he is a certified superstar. Chef Hans Rockenwagner, welcome to The Dish.
Wow, superstar. You put it on heavy. A lot of pressure here.
So are we right? Were you born to cook?
You know what? It's something that I actually grew up in. My parents had a restaurant in Germany, so it was somewhat of a foregone conclusion, although I did want to be an interior designer, architect. But then when I started cooking, there's nothing more gratifying than making something and handing it something. Yeah. You make that connection, and you get this immediate, gratifying, satisfying experience.
Well, it's such a special treat for us because we so rarely have German food on the table. So tell us what you've brought. What are all the dishes?
Well, what we have here we have the star of the feature, which would be a Jägerschnitzel. A schnitzel literally means a chop or a wedge. And schnitzel refers to the cutlet. And this particular one is a Jägerschnitzel. It's a hunter schnitzel. There are many varieties of schnitzel. The supporting cast would be a roasted orzo with vegetables and mushrooms, roasted cauliflower with raisins and hazelnuts, and then one of the first things I ever made, spätzle, right in the foreground.
Now, what is that?
Spätzle is probably a staple of German food, and it's served with roasted meats, with chicken, with goulash, with a lot of stews, and it's a very forgiving thing. And it's so good, it was my first experience in the kitchen that I actually put it on the cover of my book.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks familiar there, doesn't it? But you didn't do a recipe book for, what, 17 years? Why the period between?
Chefs usually when they put their first book out, that's their this is me, this is, but very often it becomes a coffee table book with lots of glossy pictures and more about the restaurant. This is much more about my heritage, about where I come from, things I started missing in my life.
You mentioned your heritage. I mean, you were overseas for so long, came to the United States at the age of 22. What prompted that move full-time for you?
A great offer for a job in Chicago. So I actually ended up in Chicago, was there for 1 year, and then, California just was in the back of my mind.
Sure.
A land of opportunity.
This feels very much like back to the basics cooking here, with a lot of traditions from your country and all. One of the trends that I've noticed with chefs, though, is to put together sometimes discordant flavors just to be different. Do you think that's good, or do you think there should be a balance of flavors in there?
See, what I see in this country right now, there's so many young, exciting chefs that are not bound by tradition, and they're pushing the boundaries, and that's a great thing, because that makes us all kind of on our toes. There's always the next great thing around the corner. I'm a little older. That's why I have gone back to my roots. And to be honest, to me right now, a satisfying meal is few ingredients, prepared the simplest way. That's how I like to eat. Now, that doesn't mean I go out for a 5-10 course meal every now and then. But the majority is this.
Well, as I hand you this dish and get your signature on it, we want to ask you if you could have this meal with any person, past or present, who would that person be?
That would be the German national team, soccer. The reigning world champion, also known as Die Mannschaft.
Rubbing that one in, Chef Rockenwagner. Thank you so much.
Yes.
For more on the chef and the dish, please head to our website at cbsthismorning.com.